Everybody, welcome back to the Insiders Lounge. Today we have another special episode and another special guest. Taito, thank you for joining me and feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Taito Kojima. I'm a FIFA licensed agent from Japan. And actually, when I was 19 years old, I passed this FIFA licensed agent exam. So that means I think I'm the youngest FIFA licensed agent in Japan, maybe in the world. But I'm not sure about this. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
No, it's good to have you on. And like when we had the call, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago now. It's so fascinating to learn more about your story and what you've come through, what you've experienced and so on in your short time of being an agent. But I know you have so much experience beyond that in scouting and many other facets within the football industry. First, I want to hear your first memories of soccer. So going back to your childhood, what were some of your first memories? Was it playing? Was it watching? I'm curious to hear more about that.
Actually, I think it was from like when I was baby because my father was actually a professional football player. And even after he made a retirement, he started to work in some clubs as a like scout and chief scout and sporting director. So since when I was baby, I was with football always. So yeah, it was like football is everything for me. Yes.
And then I know I think it was your LinkedIn profile that I was looking at, you actually played as well. Can you just briefly go over some of your playing experiences? I know you mentioned playing in high school and so on. And for the listeners, we've done an episode previously with Natalie on the kind of Japanese football landscape, but it's a little bit different. So maybe if you want to quickly touch on that again about what that actually looks like as a player growing up in Japan.
You mean myself?
Yeah, for yourself, and then just overall, like the general kind of landscape of what it looks like.
Okay. I think normally, I had been playing football until when I was 18, and actually I got back injury, unfortunately, and after that, I had to finish my football, and I had to stop my football, so it was unlucky actually. But normally, I think the big difference from Europe and, for example, other countries and Japan is like normally they play like in a school or they play in like academy, and after that they go to like a professional level. I think in Europe normally if players are very good, they play in the academy, and after that they play in the professional level. I think this is the biggest difference between Japan and other countries. Yeah.
And you mentioned almost right away, you mentioned your father's impact on your life, being able to see him either work with clubs. Obviously, he played previously. Can you talk more about your relationship and your family upbringing, specifically your relationship with your father, what he meant to you, and how he kind of helped develop your career in where you are today?
Yeah, actually, he's like everything for me, because since, of course, there was, of course, pressure because he's like, how can I say, he was a professional football player, so everyone like was pushing me to be like a football player, and so I felt big pressure. But at the same time, also my father brought me to some places like dinner with his friends and dinner with his colleague. Then I realized, wow, this football industry is amazing, and he impressed me so much. And he's always angry actually, and he was always angry with me, but he teach me a lot of things. So how can I say, he's everything for me, and if he's not there, I think I'm not here. Yeah.
It's true, literally, physically. If he wasn't there, you wouldn't be here today. So I'm glad he was, and I'm glad you're here today. So it's good to continue the conversation. Really, what I wanted to get into when we first had the phone call, you kind of gave me a little bit of a rundown or the storyline behind obviously growing up playing, and then you had a bit of a transformational few years. I would say between the ages of like 13 and 19 were really the big changes that happened in your life. Can you talk about really starting to work in the football industry, some of the big, like the experiences that you gained in the beginning, even while you were still like in what we would consider elementary school and then high school, and then leading up to taking the exam, and just that time period, I think is a really fascinating moment for you.
Okay, I think there are two big, like, how can I say, point of my life. Actually, yeah, I was playing football since, as I told you, when I was a little child. And actually, I was, as I told you, I felt a lot of pressure because of my father to be like a professional, to be good at football. So yeah, so I was feeling pressure, and at the 13, when I was 13 years old, 1-3, actually I was in the strongest like academy in my prefecture, and yeah, actually I was not happy playing with football with teammates and like in that kind of environment because there was a pressure, and actually it was not like enjoying. I was not enjoying football at all. So I decided to change like my academy to like school football, like how can I say, school football club. So then I think it was a big point of my life, first big point of my life, and yeah, after I changed my club, like I enjoyed football a lot, and without my father's pressure and without other people's pressure. So I think it was my very good decision at the end. And after that, how can I say? Until that time, of course, I liked football, but not at all, because always like a pressure, and I couldn't like feel enjoying to play
Yeah.
football. So after that time, I think I could enjoy football a lot at all, and after that time, how can I say, realized, wow, I would like to work in this industry, and I started to run football. I started to play and practice football a lot. So I think that was a big point of my life at first. And the second, when I was 18, I think I passed the very like intelligence high school, and because the exam was very difficult for me, but at the end I passed the exam, and actually I was so happy because I wanted to go to very good university. So in that case I had to pass a very good high school, because to go to very good university,
Mhm.
to be educated, to run about the sports like marketing, those kind of things. Yes, and at the end I passed the exam. It was very difficult period, but at the end I passed. And but after that, I realized if I stay in this like high school, I cannot like to be good agent. I cannot work good in football industry, and I decided to change my high school to another high school. Actually, another high school was really far away from my house and those kind of things. So that's why I had to move to the high school by myself, and I had to live in dormitory by myself. That was very big point because this was first time for me to live by myself without my father, my parents, my family. So yeah, at the end was very difficult decision for me, but everything was changed. I live with my friends. I live with my teammates. Every day I spend my time with them. Was amazing experience. It was only 2 years, but it was the best 2 years in my life. I swear. Yeah.
And then you mentioned, I think on the one of the interviews that I saw that you did in Japan, you had like some early experiences working with your father before you actually took the license.
Yeah.
So can we talk through some of those moments? I know you even like you first started realizing that you could help because you were researching international players and players that you could potentially bring to Japan. So can you walk us through some of those moments? Because I think for younger people that are looking to get into the industry, it's quite inspiring to see a
Yeah.
young person take initiative and really make something happen. So I'd love for you to speak on some of those moments.
I think actually this experience is very difficult to, how can I say, experience, because it's because of course my father. My father is there, so that's why I could like start this kind of things with very early age. But I think at first it was almost when I was like 12 or 13 years old. Actually, my father was a sporting director of one club, and the club was not good at that time. So how can I say, my father was struggling, and yeah, so I see it, and I wanted to help something. Actually, even I couldn't speak English at all, but I think since when I was like 10 years old, I started to go to English school. So that's why I could not like speak French, but I could like listen a little bit. I could say some words. So that's why at that time I started to search some like a good foreign prayers for my father's graph since when I was 12 or 13 years old. and I started to send some profiles to my father. But I didn't know how much this player and how is the transfer fee and the cost for this player. So I think it was realistic, not unrealistic, a little bit. It was not realistic, but yeah, it was a start. And after when my father stopped to work in the club as a sporting director, he made this agency Mundo Rico. And at that time, I realized all Japanese players want to go to Europe and wants to go to play in Europe. So I thought, wow, I had to speak English if I want to be a good agent and if I want to be a strong agent in this, how can I say, industry, Japanese football industry. So yeah, I started to learn English, and I think at that time there was one African striker in Japan, and he was very good, and I think he was a top scorer. The name was Michael Olunga. And I realized, wow, from now up, more African players come to Japan. So if I learn English and if I start to work in Africa, maybe I can be like a very good agent in Japan to bring African players to Japan, from Africa to Japan. So, yes, since that time, I started to send some messages to African agent on Instagram. Then I think totally I sent more than like 100 messages. But at the end, only some agents, agents are busy and they receive a lot of messages. So at the end, only some agents sent me the message. And yeah, it was a start. And I think when I was 15 or 16 years old, I could help my father to bring 3 African players to first division of Japan. I think this was my first experience and my first transfers, what I did. Yeah.
And talk me through like those transfers. Like, how involved were you in terms of connecting the dots here and there? Like, it must be. Did people know your age? Like, I'm curious some of the details that go around that.
Yeah, actually, I was mainly like to connect my father and the African agent, of course, like translator at first. But also, I involved like a little bit negotiation, not like what my father said, and I have to say, but it's very important. I translate well, to make the deal. And also, as you might know, some African agents are crazy. Not all agents, but the African agent I negotiated with was actually disaster. Honestly, at the end he took a lot of monies and was disaster. So it was very difficult experience. But at the end, I tried to combine with African agent. I tried to combine also even with my father because I had to say realistic to my father. My father, this is possible. This is impossible. So I had to control the situation. Was very difficult for me.
It's crazy, and the cultures are so different. Like, I think if you have African footballers from parts of northern Africa moving into France or Italy and some of those countries, the cultures kind of align in some ways. It's a little bit more similar, but with Japan and Africa, it's like 2 totally different cultures, different languages completely. So it's even more remarkable that you were actually able to do that.
Thank you so much. It was amazing.
Let's get into the FIFA agent exam and what that actually took from your end. So talk us through why you had to take the exam at such a young age, the pressures behind actually getting through and taking it and getting certified as an agent. I remember hearing the story from the interview. It's just like unbelievable what you had to go through. So give us some of the details behind the exam and what that actually took from your end.
Okay. I think, as I told you, since like 10 years old, of course, I was trying to learn English. But after, yeah, when I finished high school, I realized I have to speak English more fluently and I have to like practice English more. So I realized, yeah, maybe if I go to like university in England and like America, I can be speak English more better. So that's why I decided to move to actually UK, England, London, and yeah. At first, I cannot enter universities in London as my English was not enough. So that's why I realized I practice English like almost for 1 year to be better and to enter universities in London. So I moved to London and I learned English, and I think I moved London around March, I think. And on June, one day in June, my father called me and he told me, look, Taito, there is one very important exam for our company, and if we cannot pass this exam, maybe we would lose all our prayers. My father told me like this, but my father, look, I'm here and I still run English. I still practice English and I like to go to university. That's why I moved here. But he told me, look, this exam is organized by English and French and Spanish, I think. We can choose one language from these three languages. So yeah, I realized, wow, this is me, my task, because my father cannot speak English, he can only speak Portuguese, and as he told me, if he cannot pass this exam, we would lose all prayers. So that's why, yeah, I realized I have to pass this exam, and I have to be maybe the CEO of Mundo Rico with this young age. I think it was when I was 19 years old, and from that time, I started to run and I started to read a lot of books about the FIFA licensed agent, and at the end, I think it was actually I was not ready. Of course, like even I couldn't speak English, like so I realized it was impossible, for me because I heard some a lawyer and some English people cannot pass this exam. So in that case, how can I pass this exam? I told my father, but my father told me, yeah, you can do it, you can do it. And also, yeah, I had to do it. There was a big pressure. So even I was studying all day, 10 hours, 12 hours per day. So it was crazy. But at the end, I think it was November or something. Yeah, I had a big pressure and I was on the big pressure with other people, other players even. But at the end, I could pass the exam, and unfortunately, other people from my colleague and of course, including my father, couldn't pass the exam. So at the end, yeah, I was a savior of this company.
That's crazy. I don't even think I told you on the phone call, but I actually took the exam as well. One of the first times around when it first got announced, I think I took the first session that they had available. And I would have been around the same age, 18 or 19, but I failed. But to give the audience, I think, some understanding of what the exam actually takes, I'm an English speaker. I speak English fluently, and it was probably the hardest exam I've ever taken. And I think there's about a 50% of people that fail and pass. So an extremely difficult exam. These are all like high-end lawyers for the most part, or agents that have been in the industry for many years. So I know people that have taken the exam 4 or 5 times and are still trying to pass. So
Yeah.
a huge credit to you and what you were able to do. And I think, like you say, a literal savior for your company. Without that, I don't know how you would have moved forward. Can we talk through like other agencies in Japan? Was this a struggle? Because I think you mentioned it a little bit there, but yeah, the agent exam was only able to do, I think it was English, Spanish, German, and Italian or something like that. There was only a few languages available. So was this like highly advantageous for you and your agency, as like some of the other agencies in Japan weren't able to take the exam? I'm curious how that was for you around that time.
I think normally some other agencies there is someone can speak English, someone can speak Spanish, someone can speak French, but even these kind of people I heard couldn't pass the exam. So that's why also I heard some agent decided to leave in even this industry because my some friends told me, yeah, Taito, I couldn't pass the exam, so I decided to leave this agency and I decided to work in the craft, these kind of things. But of course, I was surprised. You can try again, you can try again. But maybe they realized, wow, I cannot pass this exam anymore. So that's why. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. I want to talk through, you mentioned the importance of that bridge, and I think it's becoming more and more relevant today, where you're seeing so many Japanese players move to the likes of the Premier League, a lot of the top 5 leagues, but also just Europe in general. And I think if I'm going to butcher some of the names, so I'm going to leave you to it. But you worked with clubs like Dinamo Zagreb, Kortrijk in Belgium, and a lot of these foreign countries in Europe. It was one of your like main focuses at the beginning. So can you talk us through kind of post getting the license? What were your main focuses on like where you wanted to bring players, or what players you wanted to work with, and how those first few months and years went in that time zone?
Yeah, actually, as I told you, since when I was almost 13 or 14 years old, I started to work in this industry. And when my father started to make this agency, also from at that time, I think it was when I was like 15 or something, when my father made this agency. But also, even at that time, I wanted to bring some our Japanese players to Europe because they really wanted to go to Europe. So I was trying and I was struggling because at first I started with this African agent, and at the end he was disaster. But yeah, it was my start to try to bring our Japanese to Europe, and now, yeah, of course, I'm in touch with, of course, agents. But the biggest thing for me is now I'm in touch with like a sporting director, CEO of the Crabs directory. So how can I say? Yeah, because as I told you, all Japanese players nowadays want to go to Europe and want to play in Europe because if they are not playing in Europe, it's almost impossible to play in national team. So that's why all players want to go to Europe. That's why all players want to play in Europe. So my main focus now is to bring our Japanese players to Europe. Of course, some European players to Japan as well. But yeah, in that case, now I'm working so hard, and I think at first I didn't have any connections in Europe, so like I went some European clubs directory, or sometimes I without sending any messages and without getting any contact, and I went just how can I say, stadium, and I put like I asked some people, look, where is the sporting director, where is the CEO? But maybe it was disrespectful, but I really wanted to try to bring my Japanese players to Europe. I think it was my start, and it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And at the end now, I could make very good relationship, I think, with the agent and the crabs, and I found some very trusted partners in each countries. So yes, this is a now situation on me.
I would love to. First of all, I love that idea of showing up to the stadium, and it's almost we call it polite persistence, and it's like
Yes.
an idea. I had another guy, Johan, a good friend of mine, on the podcast, and he goes to Harvard now, but he talks about how he got his position at Chelsea, and he basically messaged everyone that works at Chelsea through LinkedIn, and he just said, "Hey, I want to work at Chelsea. I'm interested in learning about what you guys do," and so on. But he kept messaging, and eventually he got a position there. And that's, I think, the importance, where you can still be polite but extremely persistent and wanting to make something happen. And I think you're another great example of that. Can
No.
we go through like one of the processes of bringing a player from Japan, so going through the youth system, like just one of these players that you've worked with already, and what it actually takes to get them to Europe? I know there's the actual negotiation in terms of the contract and the transfer, but also like helping the club identify players and working with them. So I know I mentioned some of the clubs that you worked with previously, but I'd love to hear like a story of one of the players and what that actually took to get them to where they are.
You mean the specific, like, maybe experience of the transfer?
Yeah, if you could, yeah.
Okay, let's say, of course, I made, as I told you, some transfer, and maybe you see only Dynamo and Kortrijk, but at the end also I had a lot of offers from even other clubs I could get, and at the end it was not happened because Praia chose another club. But yeah, maybe in this case I will say the story with the Kortrijk, Belgium clubs, because okay, at first I wanted to bring our other Japanese players to Kortrijk, so I started to send messages to CEO and to sporting director, and the sporting director took my message, and the sporting director sent me, Taito, I'm available from I think 3 p.m. or something, so please come to my office. And okay, I was really happy because I didn't expect I have the meeting with him. I think it was 3 years ago or something. And yeah, I arrived Brussels from I think Japan. It was like 18 hours or something, and after that from Brussels to Kortrijk is like it takes 3 hours 30 minutes. I'm not sure, or 2 hours 30 minutes by train. And I went to Kortrijk, but you know there are many trains makes delay in Belgium, and I didn't know about this. And at the end, I think I arrived Kortrijk station around 3 p.m. or something, and my meeting was starting 3 p.m. So I got delayed. So I called the sporting director. Sporting director, sorry, I just arrived station now. But he told me, please come, please come, please come. I don't have time anymore. I don't have time anymore. Like this. So I was trying to find a taxi, but there was no taxi. So at the end, I had to run to the stadium, and I thought in the stadium there was an office, but at the end in Kortrijk stadium and the office was separated. So when I arrived the stadium, it was like almost 3:30 p.m. or something, and there was no office. I realized, wow, this is the end of my, how can I say, journey. Wow, what the fuck, my friend. And but yeah, was crazy for me, and I was so disappointed by myself, and because I arrived Kortrijk from Japan, it was so long trip, and wow, this is amazing. But yeah, at the end, I found one guy in the stadium. He was like a greenkeeper. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I asked him, look, where is the office? I have the meeting with sporting director, and he told me, yeah, I will take you to the office. Don't worry. And he brought the car and he drove for me. And at the end, I think I arrived at the office around 3:45, and I was sure that I cannot have the meeting with sporting director. But yeah, at the end, sporting director accepted me to enter the office, and he introduced me to the CEO, and also no. At first, there were two guys sitting on the table, and I saw there is a sporting director, and also I saw there is another young guy. So I thought, this guy is like assistant of the sporting director, maybe. And it was in Belgium, so I didn't have the internet. So I asked the young guy, sorry, if it's okay, could you give me the Wi-Fi, because I don't have the internet. I would like to show the presentation. So is it possible? And he told me, yeah, it's possible. And he was trying to find the Wi-Fi in the office, and he was working a lot. And at the end, he brought Wi-Fi for me, and he told me, yeah, this is a Wi-Fi. Thank you so much. And at the end, when he showed me he's like a name card, he was the CEO of the club. Peter. Yeah, it was.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I did so disrespectful things to him, and I apologize. I was so sorry, so sorry, so sorry. But I think it was also good impression and good, maybe like impact on myself. And at the end, meeting was very good, and I introduced, I think, our three Japanese players to them. And at the end, they told me, yeah, look, I will come back to you in coming days. So thank you so much for coming here, like this. And after that, I think it was after 1 week or 2 weeks, the sporting director called me, look, Taito, I'm interested in this player, blah, blah, blah. Actually, the player was in Japan, and I tried to bring him to Europe many times, and at the end, I didn't have any deals. But the sporting director told me, Taito, I would like to bring this player. And I tried to speak with the Japanese side, but at the end, it was impossible to make it happen. And after 3 years, at the end, I could have the good relationship with Kortrijk, so that's why I could bring two of our Japanese players to Kortrijk. But it was a start, and it was, I think, long journey and long, big experience.
It's a roller coaster of emotions. That's a good one. I'm glad you told us. What are the, like, when we're looking at European clubs? I know each club kind of has their own transfer strategy and scouting strategy of what they're trying to do. But is there a particular Japanese profile that they're looking for? Like, are they looking for someone who's under a certain age, at a certain position, with a certain play style? I'm curious what you've seen based on talking with different clubs.
I think, of course, it depends on the market at first. Of course, if it's in Belgium, they they don't like small players, because in Japan there are almost like small players, but they don't like it. Because Belgian players, and also in Belgium there are a lot of African players, and their physicality is really strong, and it's impossible for Japanese player to compete with them in that kind of part. So of course it depends on the market. If, for example, let's say if it's like in England, they have to get their work permit, and at the end the process is really complicated and it's very difficult for Japanese player to get it. So of course I think it depends on the players and it depends on the profiles, it depends on the market, but I think normally European clubs like technical Japanese players because this kind of things cannot get, I think this kind of players cannot get from like European countries and like African countries, so that's why they like a technical player. Yeah.
So we've spoken through like a few different countries, especially in the European market, of either where you've worked or where Japanese players end up going in terms of the Premier League and so on. What is one region or country for you that is quite interesting or something that you're starting to look more into or invest more time in?
Now I'm trying to invest more my time to actually Scandinavian markets. I think this market is unknown market maybe for Japanese
I was
agent.
going to say that, yeah.
Yeah. But some Japanese agent I think know this. But I think this market is amazing, honestly, because for example, I think there are now two Japanese players. No, yes, two Japanese players in Scandinavia, and actually they came from academy to Scandinavia, I think, directly. But I think they are doing quite well, and they are like marketing. How can I say? Value is growing so much, and I can see that also. I visit Denmark and Sweden and like Norway. I think maybe 8 times or something, and I watched a lot of games there. But the level of Scandinavian football is also amazing. And also, I tried to bring our Japanese players to Scandinavian markets many times, but at the end it was impossible because at the end, they cannot pay a lot of money, honestly, like for transfer fee and for salary. And in Japan, Japanese players earn a lot of money, and also Japanese clubs ask sometimes crazy transfer fees. So that's why it was impossible for me to make this happen. But now my main focus is to bring, for example, some players from like a school and academy directly to Scandinavian market. This is what I want to do, and this is what I'm trying so much at the moment. Yes.
When I spoke with Natalie on kind of the Japanese footballing space as a whole, I know we mentioned her previously. She mentioned a lot about the difficulty Japanese players face when going abroad. Obviously, completely different culture, different country, so far away from home. Can you talk to us a little bit further on that topic? Some of maybe the negative experiences or the difficulties of making a move like that. I'm sure from the outside, someone like a Matoma is glorified, where he had this incredible move to Europe and then ended up building all the way up to playing in the Premier League for the national team and so on. But I think for one Matoma, there's also many other Japanese players that never quite make it to that level because of the difficulties of the adaptation to move to Europe.
Yeah, I think you are totally right, because yes, I think the most difficult part is actually language, of course, a language barrier, because normally in Japanese school and like junior high school and high school, they learn English, but it is not like, also I think the personality of Japanese people is a little bit shy normally, so they don't like to try, without like perfect English, so they are afraid to try to speak with the foreign people, so at the end they cannot speak English. So how can I say, I think this is the biggest like barrier for Japanese players to play in Europe, because normally they need English. So that's why when I bring first time our Japanese players to Europe, I try to negotiate with clubs to put the translator, because it's very good for player to adapt in the team and in the league and in the country. So yeah, this is what I always try, and at the end I could put translator, I think, in Dinamo Zagreb. So how can I say? I think of course there are some solutions for players and for agents to solve this problem, but normally the biggest barrier is, I think, English and language. Yeah.
And I could imagine that almost becoming more difficult in a club like Dinamo Zagreb, for example. You have not only the translation to English, but now most of your outside surrounding is all going to be Croatian, and then you've got other nationalities within the dressing room. just pure chaos. Yeah.
Chaos. Yeah.
Let's get into Mundo Rico. I think if you want to explain more about the agency and what you guys work on as a whole, but also what I really wanted to get into, which I think isn't necessarily mentioned on media as much or as often, is the actual recruitment process for you and your team. So looking at players and who you want to bring into the agency. I know you mentioned a few names when we were on the phone call a few weeks ago, but what that process looks like. What are the type of players you're looking for, and how do those players benefit you, and how can you kind of benefit them from your end?
Normally, our policy of the company is like to have the small numbers of players. Normally, in Japan, there are a lot of agents try to have like 100 players, 115 players, 200 players. Honestly, this is what I don't like, because okay, maybe they treat good with players, they make the good service for players, but what I like is to have the only small numbers. Let's say our maximum is 20 or 25 players, 25 players now, and our maximum is 25 players, and that we make very good service for these 25 players. This is what I want to do. So in this case, I have to have very good 25 players, because I only have 25 players. Other agent, as I told you, they have the 100, 150, 200. So in this case, the most important thing is, I think, also scouting, and also to ask other people which player is good. And now normally almost Japanese players has agent since when they were in like a school. So that's why now my main focus is to go to school and to watch the games and to speak with the coaches and to speak with the scout of Japan. And I asked them which player is good in this season. And normally they told me, yeah, Taito, this player is good. And I like make the notes. And yeah, then I go to the school and I watch the player directory. And sometimes if the player is very good, I give it a name card and to the coach. At first, I have to get the green light from coach, because some crazy agent is trying to make the relationship with player directory. But I want to do polite things, honestly, respectful things. Of course, I did this respectful things in Belgium, but in Japan, I want to be polite. So at first, I give my name card to the coach, and I speak with them. Normally, they know me because they know my father very well. Because my father was a scout, my father knows like all coaches of this industry. So they told me, "Well, Taito, you are the son of Takashi Kojima." Yes, I'm the son of Takashi Kojima. My name is Taito Kojima, blah blah blah, and I explained to them the situation. And after I got green light from the coach, I go to the prayer directory, and I give the name card, and I have the lunch and dinner and to speak with the prayer. And if they're like a prayer's friend, and if the prayer's friends are, for example, my prayer, I will tell my prayer, look, today I had dinner with this prayer. If you can, please explain to him in detail about our agency and the advantage of our agency like this. This is normally our process of the agency.
And although I would say you're quite experienced for your age in terms of already starting to work at 12, 13 years old in the agency world and in the footballing industry as a whole. But I think there's still a little bit, and I'm actually curious about this. I would say on the North American and European side of things, younger people are looked down on, like, oh, you can't be too successful at a young age. You can't have too much responsibility. You can't be doing certain things at a certain age, and so on. In Japan, is that similar? And what are some of the difficulties you face in that side of things?
I think in Japan, more than, let's say, this like a culture is bigger than other countries, because how can I say, they normally, if all the people is there and if I go there, normally they look down me. So it's normal, honestly. And I think it's more like a bigger culture than Europe and like other countries. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's very difficult for me actually. So what I'm always trying to be is like, I always want to be polite, and I always want to like say something. I don't know how can I say in English. Start to be under position, than them, and like to speak politely and respectful, with respect, and yeah. So this is, I think, the most biggest difficult part of me, the big barrier for me. But also on the another side, I'm young, so I'm the more close to players than other agents because they can be honest more than other agent to me. So yes, I think there is of course advantage, but of course there is a bigger disadvantage than advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Every culture is so different. So I'm sure, like, talk to me through, like, how did you feel when you go to meetings in Europe, especially? I'm sure it's looked at as like quite obscure because you're not only young but you're also Japanese. So you're coming from
Yeah.
a totally different place. You've traveled far. You said like 20 something hours to get to Belgium and so on. Were those meetings like, did you almost have to re-explain yourself multiple times or like kind of give more understanding on the circumstances or so on? Because from my end, like it's very impressive for a young person to be able to do that, to go have a meeting with a CEO or a sporting director, be able to share their ideas and their vision, but then actually for that person to then respect them takes it even further and even more impressive.
Obviously, but yeah, how can I say? But I feel more like a welcome atmosphere from European clubs than Japanese people because maybe if I'm like a European person, maybe if I go to them have the meeting with them, maybe they will look under me more. But maybe I'm unique, I'm Japanese and I'm young agent, so that's why maybe they are more welcome than like Japanese clubs. And actually, when I go there, they always treat me very good. And how can I say? They take care of me like a son, Taito, come here, come here, come here. In Croatia, is very good. Everyone, how can I say, tries to be very, very good with me, and I was really lucky, but I appreciate all people take care of me, and I appreciate everyone on the street. And
I'm part Croatian, so I'm glad to hear that. I spend a lot of my time. My grandma, my baka, you call it in Croatia, is in Zagreb, and I spend a lot of time in Dubrovnik and on the coast and Split and so on. So I'm glad to hear you had a good experience in Croatia.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, was very good for me.
Let's get into, obviously, these are some of the positive deals and the positive experiences that we've spoken to in terms of the European market, but just in general. But I think from the outsider's point of view or from a fan's perspective, you love to hear your favorite player go to some of the biggest teams, a Premier League team or so on, one of the top 5 leagues or the Champions League and so on. But I think once you work in the industry and your day to day is working with all these different clubs, it might not be the same because sometimes, for example, an Arsenal won't be the right fit for a certain player. And so then you have to kind of find the best circumstances and the best club that will help that player move forward. Can you talk to me about, like, I know you said some of those experiences where you had players that had offers from some of those clubs, from elite clubs, but you ended up choosing different routes for them between you and the player. What is the kind of the decision making behind that? Why would you change the route, and why would you work with different clubs that maybe aren't at the same level as some others?
Yeah, actually, also there is one very good, I think, experience for this topic. There was one Japanese player, and actually he had offer from, I think, 3 or 4 Belgium first division clubs, and also of course from other leagues. But at the end, he chose one Belgium clubs. But how can I say, the salary wise and the salary wise and those kind of things was the lowest. This club was the lowest what they are suggesting us first. But at the end, the player chose this club because sporting wise and the people from this club showed a lot of respect to us. And at the end, how can I say, this is of course Japanese mentality, but especially in our company, we'd like to, how can I say, take care of the people, show the biggest respect to us. Of course, if there are some bigger clubs than these kind of clubs, but I would like to show the respect to the people, show the biggest respect to us. This is my policy. And at the end, I think if we work on trust, I think I can get the bigger things after this, like a deal. So yeah, at the end, I brought my Japanese players to this Belgium clubs, and we refused some of other Belgium clubs at the end. But I think, at the end it was a very good decision for us because, after that also we got some positive things from this deal. I could have the very good relationship with this club. They have the trust on us. So it was amazing. But normally, when we bring the players to the club, we always work on the trust, and we always want to show the trust and respect to the people, show the biggest respect to us. Yes.
It's such an important mentality. The football industry looks so big, but when you start to work in it, you realize how small it is. Everyone knows someone, and so if you can work, like you say, with extreme trust and loyalty and respect, it goes so far. We've been discussing generally players and negotiations and kind of what you go through in the day to day. And I think a key topic in the football industry is the development of players coming from a young age, what that looks like and so on. But I don't think we necessarily talk about the development of someone like in your position, the development of an agent. So I'd love to hear from your side of things. How are you developing on a personal level, but also as an agent? What are you doing to help increase your knowledge of different players, different markets, but also just other things, different mentalities? How do you kind of develop on a day-to-day basis?
You mean as an agent, right?
Yeah, as an agent, but also just yourself as Taito himself.
Okay. I think the most important thing is normally how can I say, Japanese agent don't like to go to Europe by themselves because it costs money, of course, and it costs time, and there is as I told you, jet lag and the time difference between Europe and Japan, so they don't like to go to their directory. But what I always want to do is I go there directory and I see people directory, I speak with people directory, I see the level of football, I see the personality of the people. This is what I always want to do, and so that's why I go to Europe a lot and I see the people a lot, and at the end, so from this kind of experience, I could have the good connection, I think, with the European clubs and agent, and I could learn their real culture, because, for example, people in Japan say, look, Taito, in UK, everything is disaster, the food and the people is disaster. But when I went there, actually food was very good, and also the people was very good. So they don't know the reality, but they speak. This is what I don't like, so I want to go there directory and I want to see everything and I want to see the reality directory. This is what I always want to do and what I always want to make it happen, yeah.
It's a good point. When I was traveling Europe, a lot of people have the same thing about Paris. They always say, "Oh, it's dirty. The people are rude." All of those sort of things. I went there and had the greatest experience. The food was fantastic. The people were always so nice. So you always have to go out and make your own, have your own perspective on things. If you listen to others, sometimes they have different experiences.
Exactly, it's correct. Yeah.
Let's get into your next steps for you personally, for Mundo Rico. I would love to hear what you have in mind in terms of projects or things you want to focus on. I know we mentioned some of the markets that you're looking to move into or some interesting markets for you, but also just for you personally, kind of the short-term vision, the next few months or years, but also maybe a bit more long-term. What do you have in mind? What are your goals? That sort of thing.
In short term, I would like to produce at least one our players to Japanese national team, because of course I've never had national team players ever, but I'd like to make this happen as soon as possible. So now I'm working so hard on this, and in the long term, it's very difficult to say. How can I say in English? But in national team, I think there are 18 players or something, and I would like to make most of the players from national team are from Mundo Rico. We want to make this situation. So maybe this is big dream, but I would like to do it, and I'm sure that I can do it one day. But I have to do everything step by step, because also I'm young, and as a person I'm not enough, honestly. So I have to learn from other people, like behaviors and like cultures and those kind of things. So everything is on the way, and everything is like step by step. But I will do it, and I'm sure that I can do it one day. So I will do my best on this. Yes.
I love it. That's two strong goals. Japan just qualified for 2026, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know very well.
Okay, good. No, I saw they were the first team to do it, so that's impressive. And hopefully we'll see you here. You have to come over. I'm sure by 20. I'll put it out there now that by 2026 you're going to have at least one player on the national team, and then you'll come to the US and I'll take you around. We'll go for dinner and we'll meet up.
Definitely. I would like to go with you.
All right, no, I'm looking forward to it. Should we wrap up here with some quick fire questions? I've got some quick questions for you. The biggest life lesson that you've learned so far? I would even say particularly from your father, because it's cool to hear your relationship with him and all the things that you've been able to gain through working with him on a day-to-day basis. So maybe one life lesson that he's taught you that's really helped.
There are a lot of things he teach me, but especially, how can I say, yeah, it's difficult because he told me a lot of things and everything is important for me. But if I say something from him, he always told me about the behaviors and the respect to other people. So this is what I always take care of, and because sometimes I show bad attitude, then they see like so because as I told you, I'm young, so even if some other guy shows bad attitude, but I'm younger, so how can I say, it looks like worse, so that's why I always try to be polite, and I always try to show the respect to other people. This is also what my father told me because I'm younger age. Yeah.
So I want to learn some Japanese from you. So I have what is one Japanese word or phrase that describes how you live your life? Do you have something that can describe your life?
One word. What I want to say to you. It's like very difficult to say maybe for you because Japanese is complicated. I think for European people, but there's one word. The word is yugenjiko. Yugenjiko. This is like if I say something, I will make it happen. For example, if I say, look prayer, look shadow, I will bring you to Europe. If I say this, I have to make it happen, and I will make it happen. I always make it happen what I say. This is what I think describe about myself. Because if I say something important thing to the prayer, I have big pressure. So that's why I will work harder than harder, So this is, I think, the word describes me, and I always try to make this happen. Yeah.
Say it once more so I can hear.
Yugenjiko.
Yugenjiko.
Yes, Yugenjiko.
Close. All right, I love that. That's brilliant. I always love learning about different cultures, different languages. So it's cool to hear. The last one here. If you could sit down with one person for a meal, past or present, who would it be and why?
I think if I can sit, for example, is it okay the person already died or passed away?
Mhm.
Also, I would like to sit. Maybe but it's difficult. But maybe I will sit with my father when he was like a 20 or something, with same age, and I would like to speak with him. This is what I want to do because I can tell him, look, I'm your son and I'm 20. I'm same age with you, but I'm doing like this, like this, like this, and I want to know how he reacts after I said these kind of words. Yeah.
It reminds me of, first of all, no one has said that, so I love that you had a unique approach to it. It reminds me, Matthew McConaughey, he's a famous American actor. He always says that his idol is him in 20 years. So he would like to sit with himself in 20 years and almost interview them. Oh, what could I have done differently? What could I change? How could I approach this? And I love that mentality that your idol's always you in 20 years. And if you can look up to that person, that it almost like it gives you a different inspiration to keep going each day.
Exactly. It's correct. Yeah.
Taito, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on. I know the time zones are crazy. It's like 8:30 p.m. here in the US. For you, it's early morning, so I'm glad that we got to do this. If you have any last words from your end, and then we can wrap things up.
At first, I would like to show my appreciation and respect to Chado because he made this opportunity for me, so I appreciate him. But also to other people, maybe to listening this podcast. yeah, from now also, I'm still young and I'm not enough, and I'm not like perfect, and even there are many bad parts than other people. But from now on also, I will try to be better. Everything is step by step, but I hope I'm on the way to make the successful. So yeah, step by step. But from now on also, I will do my best every day, and I will try to be better every day. And let's see in like 10 years or 5 years what's gonna happen, you know. And but I appreciate all people listening this podcast, and especially as I told you, Chado. I'd like to show the biggest respect to him, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. You've got plenty ahead of you. I'm excited to see where your career and your personal life goes. I think you've got a bright future ahead of you. So best of luck with everything, and we'll keep in touch. Okay.
Yeah, keep in touch, and let's meet in US Monday.
And Japan. I have to come to Japan. That's one of my big goals.
I will invite you. Very good.
Thank you. Speak soon. Okay.
Thank you, Chado. Thank you.
Thank you.